Even the new communist mayor of New York City. I think he's a nice guy, actually. Speak to him a lot. Bad policy, but nice guy.
New York socialist communist mayor Zoran Mandani is looking to fix the city's housing affordability problems by meeting with one of the Big Apple's most famous builders, President Trump himself. And now the unlikely duo working together. Welcome to the Big Money Show. I'm Dagan McDowell, along with my co-hosts Taylor Riggs, Brian Bimber, Jackie DeAngelis, and with us for this hour, Fox Business contributor Lou Bassett.
Hey.
We had an opera clap. So, Mandani is describing his visit at the White House as productive and posting this photo of himself and the president holding up two newspapers. That one from 1975 that says, "Ford to city, drop dead," while the other reads, "Trump to city, let's build." Zoran Mandani is asking the White House for $21 billion in federal grants to build 12,000 housing units in Western Queens. President Trump is opposed to most of Mandani's housing policies, like freezing rents, attacking landlords, and increasing regulations. But the two agree. If New York City is going to dig out of the housing mess, the city must build, and keep building. I'm doing a jump ball. Who wants it? Because there is a lot to break apart and chew.
So I was really impressed by this visit, and I'm impressed by Mamdani. I have to give him that he doesn't go into the Oval Office and fight with the president. He understands, and this is really important in terms of his strategy, how to do business with this president. You go in there, you are slightly differential. I mean, he's asking for a big lift here of $21 billion in federal money to build, but building is something that the president loves doing. And let me just step back and say, the president has, professed his love for New York City as a pretty much lifer here. He cares about the city. I think he cares about what happens to people here, and he wants to see the best happen for all of us. So I think that he's looking at this proposal and thinking to himself, this is an opportunity. This is an opportunity to potentially do something for New York, but it's an opportunity to give the communist mayor something that he wants and probably ask for something in return. And here's where I'm speculating and potentially thinking about the behind the scenes, if you were a fly on the wall of this meeting here, where you can see some of the pictures. The next issue between Trump and Mamdani is going to be ICE operations and extracting illegal immigrants from this city. Right now, the NYPD has been hamstrung with respect to ICE and is not cooperating or helping, pretty much at his orders. And so I think there was probably a little negotiation done here behind the scenes. The president is not just going to give without getting. As a matter of fact, he's threatened that if you don't do what I think is right for the city, I will take all federal funding away. That's kind of been out there. So I think this was a step, oddly enough, in a positive direction, because, again, I care about this city. I want to see people be able to live here more affordably without driving business and everybody else who's paying tax away. If federal funding helps build this housing and offers people an avenue, that's great. But President Trump better make sure he gets something in return for it as well.
Do you want the flip side of that?
Go.
So, Brian, you always talk about why are federal taxpayers bailing out Minnesota? Why are federal taxpayers bailing out California? My worry about this is federal money from the 49 other states going to help New York City. Of course, we benefit from that because I'm in New York, so great. But if I weren't in New York, I think I'd be questioning why federal taxpayers could potentially be going over to this. Here's my other little worry. We don't have all the details yet, but the city would build the homes on this deck over Sunnyside Yards. If it were maybe a private builder, I could get behind it, but we're going to give federal money to a city who can't manage its budget to build more housing that we can't afford. The whole thing, I just don't like it.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'll add on to that because he's going. I think this is a great publicity stunt to go to Washington and say, build, baby, build. And I would be for that if that was just it. But the problem is back here, he's stepping on the gas to build in Washington, but he's stomping on the brake in New York because he's raising property taxes, which squelches.
He wants to.
No, he's going to find a way to
see.
do it, right? But he's also wants to impose rent control. So it's like a two-sided vice with rent control and property taxes. The studies are very clear. Those costs get passed along, not to just the landlords, to the actual tenants. So it's a tax hike when new leases renew. So you can't have it both ways. You can't go to the government and say, build, baby, build, and then also tax, baby, tax. Like, it's just
Well,
the economics don't work.
If he does get the money to build, it will allow him an opportunity to back away from the tax, baby, tax, which he understands isn't popular and is not probably a wise strategy. That was just a threat to Governor Hochul. But there's a lot of different dynamics at play here. I will just say this on the federal side. I hear you. Federal funding, that's everybody's money. But you know what? We dole it out like it's candy. We dole it out everywhere like it's candy. So I'd rather take a little bit here and relieve the taxpayers of some of the burden because, if it's not us, it's going to be someone else.
You and I are both on that, but I know he's not, so here it goes.
Well, I think the candy's rotting our teeth. And I know something about that as having some kids who had a few cavities back in the day. I don't want to, I'm going to try never to use the word federal funding again. I'm going to call it out-of-state taxpayer money because that's actually what it is. And I hate it because I think it is the #1 invitation to fraud. You look at the fraud in Minnesota, that was out-of-state taxpayer money. And the Minnesota people who doled it out like, I don't care, it's out-of-state taxpayer money, give it away. Same thing in California. So I'm going to start calling it that from now on. You're so right on this, though, Jackie. I will say, Mamdani is politically smart.
He's great.
If Democrats were smart, they would do what he does. They would go to the president and they would find something that they want to work with him on. And they would say, you know about building, Mr. President. I want to build in New York City. Let's do it. And that works. And he's smart to do this. My problem, though, is it's like all this city-led development.
I know.
Which means it's going to be
private stuff
like
that Trump's so good at.
It's going to be saturated in DEI and woke, and it's going to cost so much money, and the first $21 billion will never cover it, and who knows where it's going to go at the end of the day. So I think it's economically right in line with Mamdani, which means it's stupid. It's politically super smart, but it is a total ripoff to Americans who have already had tens of billions, if not hundreds of billions, of their dollars ripped off by states just like New York City.
Two quick things, Dagan, before you go, just to respond to that. Number one, I hear you also on this city aspect, but the details of this have not been hammered out. So let's see when Trump actually cuts the federal check, what terms he specifies have to be in there. I'm going to put my money on the fact that there probably will be change on that. So let's see. And the second issue is J.D. Vance is now top cop on fraud. This is, if it ends up being a city project and these federal funds are involved, there are going to be a lot of eyes watching this. It's almost an invitation. You want to steal, you're going to jail.
Yeah.
So there are aspects of this that, have checks and balances.
I'm forever the optimist, but I think there's so much fraud. It's so rampant that even if you're watching, very closely, you're still going to miss it. $21 billion is a lot of money. And I think it's not going to show up in fraud. It's going to go in cost overruns, to Brian's point, because you don't have the private sector.
Well, it doesn't even have to be fraud. No, remember, this is the same city where this mayor invited people to complain about their landlords with one big exception. Nobody who lives in public housing gets to show up and complain about it. So now he's going to do a bunch of, affordable public housing. Even if it's all spent on that, it's going to be crummy places to live, and they're not going to care if people don't like it.
Mandani is running circles around every other Democrat. He is doing what no other Democrat does or will do. Rather than throwing temper tantrums and hissy fits or storming out or I'm going to utter the F word under my breath or not even under my breath during the State of the Union, whatever the little display of resistance that they choose given the day or the week or the month. This guy knows what he needs. He needs not only housing, and he picks an area in Queens where the president is from, where his father made his bones in the real estate business, where his dad had buildings or the borough where he had buildings, but also the city still has, and it kind of changes by the day, a multi-billion-dollar budget gap. He knows that that's going to need to be filled. And so he's just making sure that whether he wants to call President Trump an enemy, he doesn't treat him like an enemy, but you keep your friends close and your enemies closer. And there is much to be gained and learned from President Trump. I think that this is brilliant on President Trump's part because he's pulling Mandani closer to reasonableness in a city where that is very dear to the president's heart and is critical to the U.S. economy functioning properly.
Do you think, though, that this is just a great, brilliant, effective move by Mamdani, or is it just the absence and just complete ineffectiveness of the Democratic strategies, right? Like he's doing what Brian said. This is common sense. Come to the president with something that he can agree on, that you can get behind. This is how politics used to function, right? Before it was so polarized, right? Yeah. Deal making. Hey, I know what's important to you. This is what's important to me. Here's where our overlap is. It's a simple Venn diagram.
But what are we getting in return? What's the deal? What do we get in return?
I'm not saying. I'm just saying. Like I feel like we're all falling under the Mamdani spell a little bit. We're captivated by him, but I think it's just common communication and negotiating.
Did you mean New York City?
No, because New York City gets the housing. What do the taxpayers get in return?
This is an ongoing debate among all taxpayers in the United States. If you're a state or a locality, are you a giver or a taker to the federal fisc? And New York has always been a giver to the federal fisc. That New York historically got back, for every dollar New York State sent to the federal government, got back 91 cents on the dollar. That the state, because it was so rich, if you will, big term, would never got back enough money. And it was poor states in the South that would take more, like way over $1 for every dollar sent to the federal government. COVID was different. It was a taker, not a giver, but it has reversed course again. It's kind of back on track. So therein lies the question of are you simply in some way clawing back what you've already handed over to the federal government over years and years and years and years?
Okay. After it's been filtered through layers of bureaucrats who all took a cut, and then some brilliant guy in city government or D.C. is going to decide how it's going to be spent.
And I'm just adding this on my own. If he can get some cooperation on ICE, because I'm waiting for the moment that New York City as a sanctuary city becomes Minneapolis, and I don't want to see that happen. So if he can get some ICE cooperation, I think that's a huge move, too, to be able to get some of the criminals and people that don't belong here out in a manner that is, considered by everybody more humane.
Tit for tat. We'll see what happens. You are looking at Warner Brothers.
Is the deal done? That is the question. This has been a months-long saga, and for people who have not following it every hour like we have, it looks like Paramount has indeed won the bidding war for Warner Brothers Discovery. They went up to $31 a share. Netflix overnight says, okay, no thanks, we're going to back out. It doesn't financially make sense for us to compete in the bidding war. Netflix drops out. Now the board still has to vote on this deal, but for now it looks like, against all the odds a few months ago, Paramount is going to be the winner of all of the assets of Warner Brothers Discovery. There has been comments on, is this the Time Warner AOL deal? Is this not? Is this something new? Because Warner Brothers Discovery has IP that is so valuable. Your thoughts?
So I think this is the absolute right outcome. I argued yesterday on Barney & Company that I don't think Netflix should do this because they would control too much, over 40% of the content.
Shareholders would agree.
Yeah, they would control They would control too much content, and they would control the algorithm, and prices would go up for consumers. I also wonder, what's Charlie Gasparino? Is he going to have some withdrawal symptoms because covering the story is now not around anymore, right? He was so on the leading edge of that, to his credit. But I also think for consumer IP protection, there were so many antitrust concerns was with Netflix winning this out. So I think it was long overdue. Take your $2.8 billion breakup fee, spend that on content, keep innovating like you're doing, and have some competition in the market. So I think it's a positive
reporting
outcome.
in the Post today that it was only after the CEO of Netflix went to meet with Donald Trump that he basically backed out of this. So you can read between the lines, but all the regulatory issues that you're highlighting, I'm guessing were discussed.
I'm not booing Lou, but I am booing. I do not buy this monopoly argument, and I think we are. When the White House is getting involved in stuff like this, we are going down the road where forever and another minute we're going to have the government weighing in on every merger, not because it's a real monopoly, not because consumers are harmed, but because a politician doesn't like who's getting what. And I think that's a bad deal for American capitalism, but maybe the ship has sailed.
I want to point out something Charlie reported. So the Netflix representatives were no commenting to Charlie on the meeting between President Trump and Ted Sarandos, the head of Netflix. This sit down, specifically the Sarandos-Trump sit down, and then they started denying it after it was clear that President Trump was not attending that meeting. And the shareholders were telling old Ted and co. that you better ixnay on this deal. $200 billion in market value evaporated in 6 months in Netflix stock.
Yeah.
So you better listen to your
Market wasn't
shareholders.
wrong. They were right.